Welcome everyone, and I'm glad you're back for the next flipped video, this one on the counterculture. As you know, we've been studying mainstream America and what makes them tick, and so now your job is to look through this video and gather some notes on your graphic organizer. So you can now pause to print or sketch this out in your notebook so that you're prepared and ready to go. Once you're done with that, then you're going to play the rest of this video and you're going to fill out the graphic organizer as you go along. And then finally, when you're done with the video, there's a 4-question quiz for you to take at the end, and that's your ticket in the door for class tomorrow. Now, we've been doing mainstream America, and so the first page of your graphic organizer here looks a little something like this. And your job is to go through and fill this out based on what we've covered in the previous 2 lessons. So some of the main characteristics of mainstream Americans, the ways that they live, the music they listen to, their choice of drug and their sexual attitudes. And then the question you need to answer is, how's the apple pie represent mainstream America? So this may take you a few minutes. I'm going to ask you to pause and go ahead and figure this out. And then when you come back, we're going to be going on to something else dealing with the counterculture. So I'm glad you're back now. This is the counterculture youth that we're going to be looking at. And so you're going to be filling this out as we go along, and we're going to start with 3 characteristics of the new left. And so the new left is something that comes along this generation gap that we have between mainstream America and the younger America, the youth that we've got now during the counterculture. They're mostly college students. They've rejected some of what the old left wanted, which oftentimes was a move to communism. They rejected communism, and they formed groups like Students for a Democratic Society. They believed that to replace power by possession with power by love. They started something called the Free Speech Movement, headed by, amongst other people, but Mario Savio was one of them, and he believed that free speech is the very essence of what it means to be human. He said it was the very dignity of what a human being is. So along with the new left, there was also a counterculture youth who tended to be a little younger and then grew into this group as well. And they were oftentimes what we call today, what you've probably heard of, the hippies or the hippie movement. They believed in freedom of expression. They were all about being able to express themselves in different ways and have the freedom to do so. They were anti-materialistic. They often lived together in communes, which I may speak about a little bit more later on. They had a distrust of what they called, quote unquote, the establishment, and they believed they should never really trust anybody over the age of 30. Breaks my heart a little bit. I'm almost to 30 right now. So these people were beginning to start, and I'll put up here the graphic organizer that you've got so you can get some of the same comparisons that we've got with ways of living, music, drugs, and sexual attitudes, and you can be filling this out as you go with 2 to 3 pieces of information. Sexual attitudes, the sexual revolution came about, the free love time as they were living in these communes, which we'll get to on ways of living. They had many partners. They believed that it took a village, as it were, to raise the children, oftentimes not even knowing who the father was. Much of the sexual revolution was brought about by the production of the pill, or the birth control pill, which is something that allowed people to be able to experience different sexual attitudes more safely, and I'll put that in quotes as well. They living together before marriage increased, as did the divorce rates, very rapidly increased by about 50% in the younger generations of our country, which really saddened mainstream America. Musically speaking, the songs became much longer, much more free-flowing types of songs with light shows and sound distortions and a lot of emphasis on guitar. And later you're going to see that those become lots of protest songs about Vietnam and some other things that we're going to get to. The big musical event, Woodstock, in 1969, over 400,000 people showed up for a multiple day music experience. Most of the big bands of the time played in it. Again, scaring the mainstream America with the dangers of rock and roll. In terms of drugs, they moved away from some of the mainstream drugs of alcohol and cigarettes, etc., and recreational drug use skyrocketed. The poster child for this was Timothy Leary, a professor at Harvard who believed in experimenting with LSD to bring you closer to God. It would be a chance for you to sort of drop in with this and drop out of society, and he was very, very popular with students. Our government spent $65 million in 1969 on anti-drug programs. That increased to $730 million in just 4 short years into 1973. So drugs have become a huge, huge problem in our society. Hallucinogenics, obviously marijuana, and any number of pills, etc., that the kids were looking into and experimenting with. In terms of ways of living, I mentioned briefly communes. They were not about buying a home and building a fence and having 6 children and living sort of in a box. We played the song "Little Boxes." You saw that. This generation totally went against that and wanted to have people experience life together. So they may live in a commune in a home, and there may have been, who knows, several dozen people living in it. Each with their own desire to help the group and be a part of a group. There were people that lived there for a very long time experiencing free love, the music that they liked, and the drugs that they liked as well. A direct contrast to mainstream America. And so what you're going to do once you've finished this is there was one other question on here about how the peace sign represents the counterculture youth, and I hope you're going to be able to give an answer to that in the box that we have here. And then once you finish all of this, then there's a short 4-question quiz that you get to take on Schoology, and I'm going to see that your graphic organizer was filled out, and then I'll have data that says you took the quiz, and I'll have your score when you come into class tomorrow. Rewind this, pause it, use it as many times as you need to, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.